Hey, what's going on, team? A quick little market update for you guys all. So CPI data was released today and we literally hit expectation. So expectation was 7.9%. We hit 7.9%. So simply what that means is one of the biggest contributing factors on why the CPI data was so high is for the month of February. Can you guys guess down in the comment section what sector has been the most talked about and we've seen the highest increase in price for the month of February, right? Or even for the month of March, really. Oil prices, right? Gas prices. And it's due to what is happening in Russia and Ukraine, and hopefully this Iran deal and Venezuela deal through the Biden administration gets put into place, right? We've been talking about it from the very beginning, where as soon as that Russian oil ban took place, it's like, okay, cool, right? We don't want to fuel Russia's war. That's great. But what about for all of us, right? All of us that get stuck paying super high oil prices. We have to do something about current supply levels, right? Europe has their things set in place where they can keep up with their current demand levels. The US has not, right? They have to facilitate or at least put through a deal, right? So they're almost forced into this corner of working out a deal with Iran and Venezuela. It's to be said that if they do work out a deal, that they can get us back on track to current demand levels or supply levels as early as 2 months. The really great thing about that is that would be progress, because with that CPI data, out of the 7.9%, 6.6% of that increase was actually solely from gasoline. So one of the biggest contributing factors on why CPI data and the report was so high was because of gasoline. Everything else was kind of stagnant. We actually saw a decrease in used car prices for one of the first times, I think, in 5 or 6 months. This is great. And this needs to take place. And the reason why, again, this is just a quick little update for you guys. The reason that this thing needs to take place is because next week, they're set to raise interest rates. So the Feds are finally raising interest rates, and that's going to be taking place next week according to the current schedule. So that's already somewhat factored in, but just as you guys could tell, right? Our expectation for the CPI report was 7.9%. And yet, even though it reported what was expected, we saw a big drop on the Nasdaq market and pretty much every market, right? Even oil is dropping itself. Everything is pretty much falling. With that being said, we need to make sure a way to kind of alleviate this CPI data, right? A lot of that pressure is coming from that gasoline. It just makes sense, right? Everything else is kind of staying stagnant. We're seeing a decline finally when it comes down to used car prices, and I hope that when it comes down to retail, when it comes down to consumer spending, all of that, hopefully all of that can begin to plateau. And as long as we get those gasoline prices back down, then again, that would be a step in the right direction. One of the things following up with yesterday's video, it seemed like a lot of you guys really, really enjoyed it. So yesterday, if you guys didn't watch it, I uploaded a second video. And the reason that I did was I talked about this resistance level on the Nasdaq market. So the Nasdaq market has been bearish for 2 months. It's not a surprise, right? So yesterday, a lot of people were super excited as the market was pushing up. TQQQ, which is a very common ETF that I trade, I talked about it being up 10% and why I locked in profits. I made $4,500 yesterday in just a couple of hours trading it. It was amazing. But we have this saying within my Learn Plan Profit group. It's on my green days, I prepare for my red days, and on my red days, I prepare for my green days. If the 2 months have taught me anything, it's to not be greedy. I am not in a position, the market is not in a position where you should be greedy. The market's been bearish. So why is it that at the first sight of a recovery or of one green day, do you get so excited that you ignore the previous 2 months of red days? It just doesn't make sense to me, right? And that is why we talked about, I'm never here to tell you when to buy, to tell you when to sell. I'm here to share information with you and why I'm doing what I'm doing. If it makes sense to you, then great. And if it doesn't, then okay, so be it, right? It's all about sharing ideas and being open-minded. But I wanted you to understand why I decided to lock in profits. And because I decided to lock in profits, the Nasdaq market dropped 2% after market hours, which means that the Nasdaq ETF TQQQ dropped, can you guys guess, 6%. And I decided to buy the dip, right? I bought with $50,000. I'm still down on it. So I'm actually down on it because during today's live trading session, I made a silly mistake. Well, honestly, it was a stupid mistake. I just don't like using that word. But I made a very, very stupid mistake. I was up nearly $1,000 and I hesitated to lock in profits. I'm not going to blame my red day on the market. That was my fault. But I am so grateful that, imagine if I would have held $60,000, $80,000 that I had yesterday in TQQQ, right? And if I would have held it all the way down to where it's at right now, I would be down the same amount that I was up yesterday. It just doesn't make sense, right? Our job is not to be perfect, right? Obviously, I'm not perfect by any means. Our job is to trade when it makes sense and when things look like they're too good to be true, or we're reaching overbought levels based off of previous patterns and CPI data is about to be reported, and the previous times that we reported it, we actually fall below expectation or fall above expectation, which is actually not good, right? It just made sense that I decided to lock in profits, not because it was the right thing to do, because no one can tell the future, but I decided to lock in profits because it was the safe play to do. And you're right? I mean, there's the saying of the no risk, no Rari. Sure. But our job is to manage and mitigate risk, not to avoid it, right? And I feel like for those that didn't lock in profits, for those that were aware of yesterday's resistance level but did nothing about it, you're just putting yourself in an unfortunate situation. And I hope that you can see that. So wanted to provide you guys with a quick little overall market update when it comes down to the CPI data, how I made sense of it, and where really a lot of the weight of that CPI report was put on, and that was definitely gasoline. I hope that this Iran deal ends up, getting put through. And again, if you're absolutely new to trading, this is a lot of information to take on. We're not only talking about, the CPI data, we're not only talking about inflation rates, we're not only talking about interest rates rising, we're not just talking about this Russian oil crisis and this war between Russia and Ukraine. This is a lot of information to take on. If you are struggling to connect with other like-minded people, I do have a free Discord group. It's the first link in the description. It's absolutely for free. You guys can join. You can even send me a message. As soon as you guys join my free Discord, send me a direct message, introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about your goals. Keep it short, keep it sweet, but I would love to learn a little bit more about you. But again, if you guys want to just dive right into it, if you guys are ready to learn how to trade and you want to be able to watch me trade live every single morning, take 2 minutes, click the second link down in the description and learn a little bit more about the Learn Plan Profit Group. They are the only team that get to work with me on a closer basis and get to watch me trade live every single day. So again, I really do appreciate you guys' time. I hope that it earned your thumbs up. It looks like TQQQ is finally establishing a support level, which if anything, it's actually higher lows, a step in the right direction, but now we need to break above this moving average. So my goal today is, I know I can probably end today in the green. My goal is just, again, as we approach these overbought levels, to not be afraid to lock in profits. So again, really looking forward to connecting with you guys. Make sure you guys join my free Discord group. Hope that I earned your thumbs up. Please consider subscribing, and most importantly, like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.